So before I get into this video, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer. This video is an opinion piece that is based on my knowledge and experience with computers and their prices. Just because I may not think a computer or a particular company isn't offering something that is valuable to me, doesn't mean that it may not offer something for you. Okay, so now let's get into the video. Hey guys, so today we're taking a look at a company that I took a look at in the past, and I didn't have a very favorable review of them in terms of just their prices and stuff like that. So I wanted to do a little bit of a revisit and talk about a little bit more in depth, and just talk about their computers in general. So it's a fairly recognized brand known as Digital Storm, and they make a lot of pretty high-end custom water-cooled and workstation computers for a lot of people. You might have seen a couple reviews from some of your famous YouTubers, this guy from PC World, and then you got Nadeshot over here, and they got pretty cool computers from these guys. They're pretty big custom water cooling machines that can play games extremely well, especially for a pro player like Nadeshot. I know a lot of gamers will use a company like Digital Storm's PCs because they'll just give it to them for free as long as they do a video on them promoting their company. So that's kind of where a lot of people are kind of getting these computers from, is just kind of watching these guys' videos and saying, okay, these guys are making pretty decent quality computers, so we're going to go check out their site. So this is kind of the first thing I kind of got a problem with, is like buying press. So the press that they get is a little bit artificial. They're getting review press of course their machines are good, right? They're giving these people their highest end machines, and they're built with pretty good quality. All their machines are built with pretty decent quality, I guess, compared to someone else in the market. But they never really talk about prices. They never talk about how much it costs to get one of these computers. And so that's what we're going to with today. You don't really see much people talking about prices, so we're going to be talking about their price to performance value, because for a lot of people it matters. It matters how much you're going to be spending on a computer and how many FPS it's going to give you. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. My first video was talking about the links. My first video was about just the worst PCs that you can buy out there, and I do not need help from Ahmed or whoever that was. But the last one was on the links. This is their lowest end machine, so of course it is their biggest seller. Usually your lowest end is the one that you're going to be selling in most volumes because that's the one that most people can afford. And it's not great. The reason why it's bad value is because of the configurations that they have. So for $700, you're getting a system with an APU. This means that you're actually not getting a graphics card. You're getting an integrated graphics CPU, which means that you're not going to be getting very good gaming performance. It's actually going to be pretty minimal. You're going to be playing most games on 1080p medium settings, maybe getting 60 FPS if you're lucky. If it's like an esports game, you might be able to kind of hover around 60 FPS. But any demanding title, maybe like Warzone, you're gonna be lucky if you hit 30 FPS, which is not good for any sort of PC. As well, you're only getting 8 gigs of memory, and for $700, this is basically robbery. It's not great. And same thing, $900, you're paying $1,000 for a decent CPU, but you're getting the lowest end graphics card that Nvidia offers right now. It'll play games at 100 FPS. If it's like an esports title, probably won't play Warzone very well. Probably play it around, I would say, I don't know, 70 FPS if you have everything down on low settings at 1080p. And again, 8 gigs of memory, you only got a 250 gig solid state drive. It's the same kind of story. The systems aren't terrible, but they're just overpriced. So I think this one's probably the best value or out of the bunch, I guess. But it's still, you could get much better systems off of companies like CyberPower and iBuyPower for that same kind of price. So that's already been talked about, right? Their low end stuff, which really isn't that low end, doesn't have the best value. So usually where a lot of companies kind of get into the market is once you get the high end, you start to kind of even out with building and buying your own PC, because you're getting some premium features with those higher end PCs that kind of make the trade-off with maybe a couple $100 cheaper than from building your own computer. So the premium feature that Digital Storms likes to kind of throw in is water cooling. They do custom water cooling loops for a lot of their computers, which you can see right here. That's a water cooling loop right there. I'm not seeing it in here, but there's definitely one going on here. So we're going to check out their highest end computer just to see what kind of water cooling performance we're going to see from this, as well as the different specs. So I actually have a system that I built here that I made before we did this video. Did a good bit of research. I'm just going to hit select to buy real quick. So we're going to be picking a Ryzen series system, and then we're going to pick this one. So the problem I have with this is, even though you're spending $3,000, actually I think it's a little bit more, yeah, so it's like $3,371, you're still getting a pretty bad GPU, which is the GTX 1650, like on the last one. It's the entry card for NVIDIA. It's still not a great GPU. So of course you're going to have to change that, and that's going to be an extra $800 for an actually decent GPU for a system that you're going to be paying $4,000 for. Now again, not a great value in general, but it is water cooled. So we got all the same processors. We actually got a better motherboard on this parts list, and kind of got the same power supply and stuff like that. And the one thing I've kind of got a problem with is that this is a SATA SSD, and I can just tell by the keying of it. So this SSD is not going to be nearly as fast as what an NVMe SSD is going to be like. Your data transfer speeds are going to be a lot slower. I don't know why they don't just put in an NVMe SSD. Can't imagine they're saving too much money with one of these, but who knows. So their storage, their bulk storage at least, is their default 2TB hard drive that they throw in there. I guess they probably get these for pretty cheap because it's in every single one of their systems. And you know, all this stuff is just kind of garbage except for the graphics card. Sound card, there is no sound card. There's always just integrated motherboard audio on every single motherboard that you buy nowadays. But this is where the cooling goes. So they actually put in liquid soft tubing, so it's not nearly as much work as hard tubing. You just kind of plug it in. It's just plastic kind of loops. It's soft, so you don't have to worry about actually making the hard bends for it. And then fluid cooler. I guess this is the cooling tubes that they use for some of it. Actually, I guess this isn't even white. I guess it's just these white fluid color. Cable management. I hope they would cable manage. Everything else is kind of like, this is the part that I actually don't like at all, is that these are just the cheapest fans that you could get. These are actually Molex connectors. Which, for those of you who don't know, if you're actually using a Molex connector on a fan, which means it's extremely cheap, it also means that you cannot change your fan speed based off of temperatures. So most of the time, if you have a PWM fan, you plug it into the motherboard, and depending on how hot the system's running, the fans will ramp up, and if it's not running very hot, if it's just sitting idle, it'll ramp down. So it's not going to be loud when you're not using it, and it might kick up and be a little bit louder, but at least your system isn't going to get too hot. With these, it stays on one setting, so either it's going to be way too quiet, and your system, when it needs it, is not going to have all the power that it needs to run all of the fans up high, as well. It might just be stuck at a loud setting, so your system's going to be cooled, sure, but it's going to be loud even when you're not using it. So that's kind of a lose-lose situation there. So the ones that I've got for this system, I picked a bunch of Corsair fans, so that's the one that we're going to be picking. I guess it's not compatible. You need a Commander Pro, which actually already comes with one of these. I think this system basically is the same thing, but a bit better. So same CPU. The RAM is about the same. It's actually just the same speeds. So the drive that we got is a Samsung 970 EVO. Great overall drive. Does what you need it to do. It's pretty freaking fast. Again, it's that same 500 gigabytes, and we got a 2TB hard drive, NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super, same thing what we got in this one. As well, we've got a pretty dang good case. It's a Lian Li PC011 Dynamic. Again, one of the best PC cases that are out there, actually made in part with Davee. Davee is one of the notorious overclockers in the community. Yeah, he helped design this case, and it's really meant for good airflow. And another thing, we got the same power supply. It's 1000 watt, 80 plus gold certified. You got our RGB fans that we have in here. But the other thing that I want to talk about is that you're like, okay, the other one's custom water cooled. Sure, there's that, but it's only custom water cooled for the CPU, and that's something that they don't necessarily like. It's in quotation marks, but like for those of you who aren't the keen-eyed, you might think that this GPU might be also water cooled, but it's not. So there's not really a whole lot of reason to make a custom water cooling loop if you're just cooling the CPU. Like, it doesn't make sense just to buy an AIO. Like, this is the easiest thing to install. You just, put this radiator and the fans on, and then you just put this on top of the CPU. It's still water cooled, and the temperatures aren't going to vary too much. You might have a little bit of a cooler experience on the custom water cooling loop, but this should be a pretty decent water cooled AIO. I mean, it's one of the better ones out there. Corsair usually makes pretty good AIOs, so guys, Digital Storm, it's not the best value. No matter kind of what price configuration you're buying. I guess if you want to max it out, and if you don't want to pay for water cooling, that's fine. But just know that you're paying a premium for it. And let's look at the final price here. So we're paying close to $5,000 for, I guess it's a pretty cool looking system. This is actually what you're going to be looking at. This is a pretty cool looking system, I would say. All these fans are going to be RGB and stuff like that because we did get the Corsair ones. But it's not going to be that amazing. As well, actually, this one has a better motherboard, so if I would have put in the same one, we would have been cheaper. But this one's around, $2,700. So, yeah, it's almost half the price of what this one is. So, guys, Digital Storms, I wouldn't buy from them, especially if you're on a budget. If you don't care if you're throwing in $5,000 on a PC and you're not really getting the best value out of it, definitely don't do that. But again, I guess this is probably one of the only computer companies out there that is doing custom water cooling to like this degree. So I guess there's that. That is probably why they're getting a pretty decent amount of customers. But still, guys, if you're buying it from, I don't know, $1,300 below, don't get one of their PCs. Go buy one from CyberPower. Go buy one from iBuyPower or Skytech. Skytech has actually got some really nice PCs that I've been loving reviewing. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.